Live in Western Oregon, this is NBC 16 News at 5.
A lot has changed across the state as 31 Oregon counties start phase 1 of reopening. Good evening and thanks for joining us for NBC 16 at 5. I'm Alan Matthews. For restaurants in particular, some are inviting the public back to sit down and dine with them. But NBC 16's Angelina Dixon tells us how one owner wants to reopen for in-store dining next week to make sure customers follow safety measures.
But other than that, we're all set, ready to go. It's been good so far as takeout and delivery is concerned for the last few months.
Their plan is to make sure customers are safe and maintaining social distancing. Sub Shop has been around for over 35 years, and here at their shop on West 11th in Eugene, they're excited to reopen to the public for in-store dining, but that won't be happening until next week. That's when there will be signage indicating where to stand in line, and there will be signage for seating.
But I'd really like to have more signage so people have a real good idea when they walk in the door, if they're going to walk in the door, what they're supposed to do as far as waiting, keeping distant, and all that kind of stuff.
Bartlett says this is something new for the sandwich joint, but here's something else new. All of the self-serve items and amenities are closed to the public in the store. So, for example, this soda fountain machine is temporarily closed. And instead, Sub Shop employees will grab a beverage for you from behind the counter. Bartlett says this is something you'll start to notice all over Oregon. Also, seating will be in compliance to a national restrictions of a 6-foot distance.
So we've got these like pews, as we decided to put tables at each end of the pews, right? So that will keep them separate by 6 feet. Now they can pass each other briefly, but they really need not be within 6 feet of each other.
We talked with the Economic Development Department Friday, who says they're excited to see phase 1 reopening for the city in most places under the phase category. But the coronavirus is not gone completely. We still have to remember to maintain our social distancing restrictions. Phase 2 is something that is unknown. For now, they say, let's work on phase 1 and see how that goes. But once we start phase 2, that may indicate phase 1 was a success.
And that was Angelina Dixon reporting. Now, coming up at 5:30, she'll be joining us live from West 11th with a look at the activity that's going on for local restaurants so far. As we turn now to the map, with all the yellow counties that you're seeing there are the 31 Oregon counties that Governor Kate Brown approved to start phase 1. In our region, that includes Lane, Douglas, Coos, Deschutes, Benton, and Lynn. All of the gray counties are the 5 that have not been approved. Marion and Polk counties did apply, but they did not meet certain criteria. Multnomah, Washington, and Clackamas are all counties that have not applied for phase 1 for reopening yet. Those counties are still battling a large number of coronavirus cases. Now, this is a big turning point for the 31 cases approved since the pandemic hit our area. People can now gather in groups of up to 25 with distancing in place. So again, let's break down what is open with restrictions, of course. This includes restaurants, bars, salons, barbershops, gyms, and malls. So what changes can you expect at restaurants and bars now? Well, restaurants can have sit-down service, but tables have to be 6 feet apart. All employees also have to wear face coverings, and last call for food and alcohol is 10 p.m. And the next time you head out for a haircut, the scene is going to be different as well. Appointments are required. There has to be 6 feet between clients. They have to remove all magazines, snacks, and beverages from any waiting areas. And depending on the service, employees and clients have to wear face coverings, capes, or smocks. And the next time you head out to lift some weights, expect some changes at gyms and fitness centers. Showers, pools, water fountains, spas, drop-in childcare, among other things, will be closed. Contact sports like basketball, martial arts, and wrestling are prohibited. Some equipment stations will be blocked from using if physical distancing cannot be followed. Some workout classes may be held outside if it can be done safely. Of course, employees will be sure to make sure that social distancing is in place at all times and the equipment is disinfected. And also, a lot of stores at Valley River Center are now open. So what are some of the things you can expect there? Well, common areas like food courts need to follow 6 feet of physical distancing between parties. That means chairs, benches, and tables. Signs will also be placed to avoid groups from congregating, and there will be designated entrances and exits to malls to keep the traffic flowing. Now we know that was a lot of information to throw at you, but these are the changes that we are going through together. And as we look ahead, what happens after Phase 1? Well, after 21 days in Phase 1, counties continuing to meet prerequisites may be able to enter Phase 2, which is considered higher risk. The goal here is to increase crowd sizes and mobility. Eligible counties can have in-person local gatherings up to 100 people with physical distancing. That number is subject to change. People can also visit nursing homes again, that is with limitations, and office work can resume. There are no clear guidelines set yet, but again, this is after 21 days in Phase 1. And looking even further ahead, Phase 3 is considered the highest risk. Governor Kate Brown said the phase would require reliable treatment or a vaccine. So what's exactly in that phase? Let's take a look. Once implemented, it will allow concerts, conventions, festivals, and live audience sports to return. Meanwhile, more information on large gatherings scheduled for later in the fall will be provided this summer. But for now, all large gatherings should be canceled or modified through at least September.
I'm Lauren Negretti. I'm in downtown Coos Bay, where, as you can see behind me, traffic is moving. The streets are bustling as community members come out for the first day of Phase 1 of reopening Coos County. I did talk to a few local restaurant owners who are jumping on the chance to allow guests to dine in, of course, following health guidelines. Again, in downtown Coos Bay, I'm Lauren Negretti.
More now on the South Coast, as small businesses have felt the brunt of the coronavirus pandemic. Now the owner of a small gym is pumped that they are finally back open. NBC 16's Amanda Slee went to see how things are going.
Downtown Health and Fitness in Coos Bay opened back up at 7 a.m. Owner of the gym says that they're going to come back stronger and better than ever.
I had one client who said, I'm never going to miss the gym again, ever. So something that's taken away, I guess people can say that they've taken for granted the fact that they have this beautiful facility to work out in, and for it to be taken away was hard on them.
The gym is equipped with multiple sanitizing stations, signage to remind people about the guidelines, and the equipment has been moved around to meet 6 feet distancing.
So our weight room has been kind of converted. We've taken half of our cardio equipment and moved it to our aerobic room.
She says they have an older demographic that will be waiting a little longer to come back, but she isn't concerned about business.
It might not be right now, but soon they will return. And I'm not worried at all. I think safety and health is our #1 priority, so I will respect that. But I think we're going to be okay.
For the time being, Downtown Health and Fitness is open with reduced hours. Gonzalez has some advice for those who haven't kept up with working out.
You don't have to come in here and run a marathon or lift 500 pounds. I mean, we're just, we got to reset our mind and thinking that, baby steps, we can do this.
Gonzalez says they are hoping to get back to their normal hours after Memorial Day, and her expectation is to slowly get back to some kind of normalcy. Reporting in Coos County, I'm Amanda Slee.
So I'm here in downtown Roseburg on day 1 of the Phase 1 reopening, and it seems like people have wasted no time getting out and about. What was once a ghost town is now filled with cars and people walking on the streets. There's some people still with masks and still being careful, but for the most part, it seems like downtown Roseburg is alive again. Reporting in Roseburg, I'm David Ochoa.
We now turn to the coronavirus numbers statewide, as there are more than 3,500 coronavirus cases and 137 deaths in Oregon. More than 2,300 cases are in the northern counties in Multnomah, Marion, and Washington counties, where Phase 1 has not yet started. Despite having that number of cases, so far more than 800 people have recovered in all of those 3 counties. Today is also the second day in a row that OHA does not report any deaths. We turn now to our local numbers, as they remain fairly low and stable. Benton County added another case. They have 51. Lynn County added 2 more cases. They have the most in our region with 109. Here in Lane County, we remain with 61 cases, including 1 presumptive case. Lane County Public Health has not announced any new cases in 4 days. Deschutes County is also up high in our region with 94 cases. Douglas County has 24 cases. 23 people have recovered there, and only 1 case has been reported in the last 25 days. Coos County stands at 30. There are a total of 396 cases, but only 139 of those are active cases, according to OHA. Again, all these counties have started their Phase 1 reopening. New information this evening as 2 people are hospitalized after police say a driver hit a patrol car near Mapleton. Oregon State Police say a trooper in Florence responded to the report of a person driving erratically around 10:30 this morning. The trooper eventually spotted the driver. That's when police say 60-year-old Lane Palmer started chasing the trooper, allegedly trying to ram the trooper's vehicle on Highway 126. Police say the trooper maneuvered and called for backup. Palmer then allegedly crashed into a Siuslaw tribal police car head-on.
I have not seen anything like this in my career where a suspect actually turned and started chasing the police. The trooper did a very good job, maintained his composure, and gave good information on the radio.
Both drivers were transported to the hospital and their conditions are not known at this time. Police are still investigating the crash, which reduced traffic down to 1 lane for several hours. Lane County voters will see a bond measure for Lane Community College on the ballot this Tuesday. The college is asking for over $100 million. NBC 16's Perry Elliott-Arani spoke with LCC's president and a board member about that proposal today. So Perry, what exactly are they telling you?
Well, as you can imagine, Alan, they emphasized how much the college needs that money, but it comes at a time when many local workers are unemployed and enduring financial hardships due to the coronavirus. Now, I asked them about that and why they're still standing behind their price tag.
Lane Community College is asking voters in the county to say yes this coming Tuesday. Their bond measure would cost taxpayers just over $121 million if approved. The college says part of that money would go towards safety improvements like upgrading their buildings to withstand earthquakes and defending their computer systems against cyber attacks. LCC President Margaret Hamilton says without the bond, those improvements will come at the cost of college programs and students.
And unfortunately, it could add up. It could wind up with having our students have increases in tuition.
The measure would also allow the college to construct a new building for healthcare students, expand pre-existing programs like manufacturing, provide new workspaces for technical professions, and update their technology in classrooms, something LCC board member Rosie Pryor says is long overdue.
The last time we asked for voter support was clear back in 2008. Can you imagine how much change has occurred in facilities and equipment and technology?
But LCC's ask comes as COVID-19 has led to high unemployment in Oregon. The college admits the virus has made campaigning tougher, but argues that the funding is even more necessary now.
People are going to find out whether there's still a job or whether they're going to have to learn to do something different. And if they have to learn to do something different, they're going to come to Lane. That's what we know from history.
If approved, the measure would apply a property tax of 12 cents a year for every $1,000 of property residents own.
Now, we should also mention this is the only ballot measure offered for Lane County residents this time around, so it may be easy to miss on the ballot itself. Just make sure to check the back of your ballot when you go to vote.
All right, thank you so much, Perry. Well, we started our coverage of the primary election yesterday, profiling the Democratic Party candidates for Oregon's 4th Congressional District. Tonight, we focus on the Republican race for that seat in Congress. One of the candidates running is Alex Skarlatos. NBC 16's David Ochoa talked with him about his campaign.
Alex Skarlatos is a recognizable name. He's known for a variety of reasons. But right now, he wants to be known as the representative for Oregon's 4th Congressional District.
There were no decent options, and I felt like that this was something worth fighting for.
This isn't his first run for public office. In 2018, Skarlatos ran for a position on the Douglas County Commission, losing in a close race. This race, he says, is on a much bigger scale.
It's just a whole different ballgame, and it's much bigger, and the stakes are much higher.
Skarlatos says the main issues he's focused on are timber reform, protection of the Second Amendment, and Veterans Affairs.
We would work on O&C reform. That would be probably my main priority, either getting it on an equal footing with the Endangered Species Act, because right now the Endangered Species Act basically overrides the O&C Act.
What are some of the problems that veterans are facing right now that you feel you can help them with?
Well, I think the biggest thing for veterans, of course, is the VA. It's not a good system. I think I use this analogy every time I talk about it, but it's like the DMV running your health care.
Skarlatos says he's looking to get the economy back on track in the wake of the coronavirus.
Well, I think the biggest thing is we just need to open back up and let people go back to work. I mean, we're now at this point starting to deal with more long-term consequences of businesses shutting down permanently instead of just temporarily. I mean, especially again in rural Oregon, we've had almost no cases of it.
Speaking of rural Oregon, a lot of people in rural areas are feeling disenfranchised by their representatives. So what would you say to them? What can you offer them?
I'm from rural Oregon. Peter DeFazio, I feel like, represents Eugene. I mean, that's his home, and that's, frankly, his electoral base. I would represent all of rural Oregon, the coast, and Eugene. I mean, I think we can, again, find common ground on issues that most people care about and actually try to affect change.
Yeah, and DeFazio has been in office since 1987, so he has won a few elections. If you do end up running against him, what are you going to do differently than everyone else who's ran against him?
I would just try to win the middle on issues like timber reform. We can have a thriving economy and protect the environment at the same time. Peter DeFazio has gone incredibly far left, and he's also coincidentally from the poorest congressional district in Oregon. And I don't think that that's a coincidence.
Carlotto says his campaign outraised DeFazio's by $68,000 so far this quarter. Reporting in Douglas County, I'm David Ochoa.
Now, the other candidate in the Republican primary race is Nelson Ege. We have reached out to him several times, but so far he has not been available for an on-camera interview. And make sure to follow our primary election coverage. It's all going to start 5 a.m. on Tuesday morning with our morning newscast, and we'll end with a recap of election results on NBC 16 News at 11. You can also follow the latest results next Tuesday on our website at NBC16.com and our Facebook page at KMTR News. Again, ballots will be due by 8 p.m. on May 19th at an official drop-off site.